Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabits. Namandabits. Namandabits.
So at this time, Reverend Davenport will be providing the Dharma School message.
Please join me with palms together as I share the words of Shinran Shoni. The Tathagata of light that surpasses the sun and moon taught me the Nembutsu Samadhi. The Tathagatas of the 10 quarters compassionately regard each sentient being as their only child. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone. So great to see so many of you guys here in the Hondo and out there in Zoom land. Today I want to thank everyone for being here today. It's my second talk, but it's the first one of this year and the first one that I'm doing in this capacity. So it's a great honor to be here today to share the Dharma with all of you. Today I want to discuss something we all experience every day of our lives. Whether we're young, whether we're old, whether we're rich or poor, and whether we realize it or not. And that is trust. And so today's talk will be focusing on trust and what trust means in Buddhism and what Buddhism can teach us about trust. So before I get started, I always like to start with a question for every talk. Give you something to think about as I talk today, and hopefully by the end you'll have an answer if I don't give it to you. And our question of the day is, what can Buddhism teach us about trust? And to help, I want to start with a story. This story is actually inspired by my wife, who gave me a great idea over the weekend, and it's something that I fondly remember. And so the story I want to share today is about the crocodile and the toothpick bird. Has anyone heard this one before? No? Okay, well maybe when I start to share it, you might sound somewhat familiar. So, in the heart of a remote swamp, there lived a large and powerful crocodile. This swamp was his kingdom, and he ruled it confidently. But even the strongest faced their struggles, and the crocodile was no different. There's a picture of him at the top. This crocodile often had food leftovers stuck in his teeth, and it caused him a lot of discomfort every day, making him grouchy and irritable, and the other animals, afraid of this big, angry crocodile, avoided him when his teeth were in pain, fearing his anger, his wrath, and his dirty looks. But one day, a tiny bird overheard the crocodile's grumbling. This bird, known as a toothpick bird, had a talent for finding and removing food remnants. And it saw a chance to help a fellow creature, no matter how big and scary he looked. This toothpick bird, with its slender and strong beak, not like the photo with the tools, went skillfully into the crocodile's mouth, trusting that the crocodile would not hurt him. And eventually, after a couple moments, this bird removed all of the food left in this crocodile's teeth. The relief flooded the crocodile with enormous and tremendous joy, because he no longer felt pain, he no longer felt irritable, and he no longer felt angry. He was so happy to have his teeth perfectly clean. The crocodile, with a great feeling of gratefulness and gratitude toward this tiny little bird, promised to protect him from any predator that might threaten him. This was a significant promise, because the crocodile was the undisputed ruler of the swamp, the most powerful, dangerous creature there, and everyone revered him, except for those in the sky. And so one day, a fierce eagle swooped down on the swamp. It spotted this tiny little bird and said, "That looks like lunch." And so he raced down, threatening the bird. And immediately, upon seeing its massive wings and it coming down toward this little tiny defenseless bird, the crocodile, true to his word, immediately faced the eagle. His imposing presence and the threat of a fight were enough to scare away this big bird. And it scared it off, and it protected this tiny bird that helped him. As a result, the toothpick bird was so grateful for the crocodile's protection, he decided to keep on keeping him around to help him. It offered the crocodile food cleaning services and warned him of potential threats nearby. Sometimes the toothpick bird would just perch on his back and enjoy the rays of the sun and look at all the other animals in the forest. And with this bond, they were both safe, happy, and healthy. And so over time, this crocodile and the toothpick bird grew inseparable. They depended on each other, and their friendship was clear to all the animals in the swamp. Okay, so has anyone heard this story before? Oh, a couple people. I got one person in the audience. Two. Okay. It has many different names, but I think it's a cute story. It talks about trust, because this little tiny bird has to crawl in the mouth of this giant, massive crocodile with all of these scary teeth, and without fear has to help and rely on the goodwill of this crocodile to help him. So what does this teach us? This story is told in many different cultures around the world, and it might be a little bit different depending on where they're at and the animals they have. Some of you might have heard of the story of the vicious lion with a thorn in its paw and the mouse that pulls the thorn out to help him. That might be a more familiar one to some people. But what this tells us is that despite the differences, there's a relationship between these two very different creatures. The bird pecks at bits of food stuck between the crocodile's teeth, cleaning them carefully, and when it's done, the bird hops out, and the crocodile closes its mouth and slips back into the water. It's a safe, trusting relationship that relies on both of them to feel comfortable with each other. Now, for many of you, especially people that are a little bit older, you might be thinking, this does not sound realistic at all. In fact, you might be thinking something like this cartoon. And in this cartoon it says, according to the Greek historian, crocodiles allow birds to clean their teeth. Here's one, I'll try it. And then snap, the crocodile eats the bird, and he says, I wonder how many birds are going to fall for this. So many of you guys might be thinking, yeah, there's no way a bird's going to crawl in this giant creature's mouth and pick its teeth clean. But this isn't just a story, it's real life. This happens all across Africa, where little birds do help these giant, huge animals with little things like going in their mouth and picking food out of their teeth. It's a great sign of trust, even in the animal kingdom, from two different special animals. So the answer is straightforward but meaningful. Trust. We have to have trust in order to get along. We have to have trust in order to cooperate, especially when we can't even talk to each other. The bird trusts the crocodile not to snap at him, and the crocodile trusts that the bird won't hurt him. So neither one forces the other. Neither one compels the other. They simply say in their own way, yes, I will help. And yes, I will not hurt you. So this is a moment, a relationship, something bigger than fear itself. There's another version, like I said before, of the lion and the mouse. We see this a lot in movies nowadays. But no matter what, all of these stories are sharing the same idea. They teach us something important. That trust often appears not when we're safe, healthy, and happy, but when we're in transition, when we're changing from one aspect of our life to another. When we move from safety and certainty to unsafety and uncertainty. We see this in our own lives as well. Think about the first day you went to school. No matter how old or young you are, you can all relate to this. The first day you get to school, I remember when I was a kid, I was so nervous about letting my dad's hand go because I'm going to go in a room with a bunch of strangers. And hopefully they're going to be nice, they're going to be friendly, and hopefully they're going to share stuff with me. But it's very scary, something new, experiencing a new world, a new environment. And that moment requires a great trust to let go and to embrace this new experience. It's the same as learning to ride a bike. When you're on your tricycles or when you're on your training wheels and then eventually someone has to let go and you have to trust that you can ride that bike without getting hurt. I have lots of scars on my knees from doing this when I was a kid. For those of you guys who are older who might remember this movie, there's a famous movie called Yes Man with Jim Carrey. It's a really funny movie. It's a little old now, it's 2008. But in this movie, our character is a really grouchy person. He says no to everything. They say, do you want to do this, Ralph? He goes, no. Do you want a job? No. Do you want to meet these new people? No. So he's a very no person. He's very closed off. He's isolated. He doesn't want anything new. He doesn't trust anyone. And that makes him very sad, very lonely, and all by himself. So then he makes a commitment in the movie to say yes to everything. And it's really ridiculous. He'll say yes. Do you want to enter this raffle? Do you want to give me money? Do you want this job? Do you want to go cliff diving? And he just says yes to everything. It's a funny comedy, and there's some real truth behind it. When we always say no out of fear and a lack of trust, we shrink inside. We become alone, isolated. But when we say yes, we become open, we become honest, and our lives expand, including strangers and those around us. In many ways, trust is simply knowing when and how to say yes in our lives. But here's the main point I want to emphasize early on. Our personal yes to these moments in our life is only a small part of a much larger picture. We often believe trust is something we do, something we create, something that we think I trust. And if I do this, then it will happen. We feel like we have control over every moment. But what if trust isn't something we possess, but something that possesses us? This brings me to one of my favorite sayings I learned from my grandparents, and that's the phrase, shaking like a leaf on a tree. I don't know if anyone younger knows what this means anymore, but it means you're really nervous. And I think it's a good metaphor for how we view Buddhism and trust. If you imagine this tiny leaf, like here, shaking on a tree, the wind blows, especially the last 2 weeks, the rain falls, the snow chills, the leaf shudders and thinks to itself, I am holding on for dear life to this tree. And from its perspective, it feels like everything depends on gripping the tree. It only sees it from me, I. But in reality, the tree is holding on to the leaf. The tree's branches, the trunk, and roots uphold the leaf through every storm. The leaf might shake wildly, but it's never truly alone. It is being grasped, it is being held at all times by the tree. So that us mentality becomes a we mentality. In our Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, this is how we understand our connection with Amida Buddha. We might think, I am holding on to Buddhism. I'm trusting, I'm believing. But Shinran Shonin reveals something very different. He says that Amida Buddha holds on to us, like the only child in their eyes. According to Shinran, Amida's compassion is not distant or abstract. It's intimate, it's parental, it's unconditional. Just like the tree holding on to the leaf, Amida does not care. Amida holds on to us at all times, whether or not we recognize it. And that leaves us the final thing I want to share today. In Jodo Shinshu, trust isn't about being strong, being good, being enough, or earning anything. Instead, it's about opening ourselves up, creating an entrusting heart, and being aware of Amida's compassion that surrounds and embraces us. You and I can even experience this every day when we look out into the world. When we think pure and beautiful thoughts, speak pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds, just like in the golden chain, we can recognize the gratitude and compassion that surrounds us in our everyday life and experience. So in gratitude and with an entrusting heart, please join me as our palms together as I share the words of Shinran Shonin. The Tathagata of light that surpasses the sun and moon taught me the Nembutsu Samadhi. The Tathagatas of the 10 quarters compassionately regard each sentient being as their only child. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabas.
Thank you, Reverend Davenport, for your Dharma School message this morning on trust. The story of the crocodile and the toothpick bird, I vaguely remember some version of it, but I was sitting there and I was trying to recall, I think there was something about like a rhinoceros or something at some point. I don't know. It's been ages, but I really did enjoy the story this morning. And talking to us about trust in each other, in ourselves, and the Buddha's wisdom and compassion. So at this time, please stand, everyone, and please turn to page 112 in the service book. We will be singing the Gatha, Happy Little Children. Please remain standing for the recitation of the Jodo Shinshu Creed. So that can be found in the insert that's pasted into the back of your service book. So Jodo Shinshu Creed. I put my trust in the vow of Amida Buddha, reciting Namo Amida Butsu, letting us live life to the utmost with strength and joy. I look to the light of Amida Buddha, constantly reflecting upon myself. Let us strive to live a life of gratitude. I shall follow the teaching of Amida Buddha. Awakening to the right path, let us share the true Dharma with others. I rejoice in the compassion of Amida Buddha. Mutually respecting and aiding each other, let us endeavor to work for the good of all. Please place your hands together and join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. You may be seated. So this morning we will be celebrating January birthdays. So if you're celebrating a birthday this month, please come up in Oshoko and join us at the front of the Hondo. We won't ask how many years. So please say your name and birth month and day. You don't need to provide a year or age.
And January 12th.
Terry, January 31st.
Mayumi, January 15th.
16th. So please join me as we sing happy birthday to our Dharma friends. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dharma friends. Happy birthday to you. And you may choose a gift. So cute. So as they choose their birthday gift, are there any announcements?
Good morning. On behalf of our Taiko group, I'd like to welcome everyone to a special screening of Because of You I Am, which will be featuring Roy and PJ Hirabayashi, founders of San Jose Taiko. They'll be sharing their journey from the last 50 plus years, and I welcome you to join us after service today. Thank you.
Hi, you know me. I'm part of San Diego Taiko, Buddhist Taiko, but I'm also the friendly Buddha lady. And what a perfect time to watch the documentary, eating the last little bit of brittle and brittle corn. Everything must go, according to Brevin. He told me to say that. Everything must go. Thank you.
Okay. So good morning. Two announcements. One is there's a Panda Express fundraiser for the FEWA conference, which is going to be in October, and so I hope you will support this fundraiser. It's 900. You're not going to remember this, but 9816, and the date is January 16th, which is also my birthday. But anyway. So I'll put this up in the hallway. So please support the FBWA. And the other thing is, Junko just reminded me that downstairs we are preparing kinako mochi and also mochi with shoyu sugar, that mixture. So it is the kasane mochi that was in the onaijin for the three shrines that we have up here. And Avis Honda did all of the cutting. You know how hard it is to cut that mochi. Anyway, she did all 6 of them. So, so we have it downstairs for after the service. So please join us for refreshments. Thanks.
Hello, good morning. Nice to see all of you here this morning. Have a few announcements. Yeah, I forgot to make an announcement last week, but thank you to everyone who came out to help with the temple cleanup on December 28th. Yeah, it was wonderful help. You know, we did a lot of work cleaning the Hondo. The MA team, the ministerial team, cleaned the Onaijin. Downstairs in the class, rooms downstairs were all clean, the windows, so very nice, getting ready for the new year. So thank you very much for those who came out to help with that. Next Sunday is our Honko service. Honko is the commemorating the passing of Shinran Shonin. And our guest speaker next Sunday will be Reverend Von Mangan from the Arizona Buddhist Temple. So we hope that everybody comes out for that service. And we do have our temple New Year's party following the service. And if you have ordered a bento, you're good to go. If you, or the chicken. But if you haven't ordered, I believe the time to order your bento has already closed. So, but there may be a few available the day of. So if you're interested and you want to, you could just check in. But even if you don't have lunch, you could still participate in the New Year's party. And then at the end of this month, the Buddhist Churches of America, the Buddhist Center for Buddhist Education, and the Institute of Buddhist Studies will have a seminar titled AI, that's Artificial Intelligence, and Jodo Shinshu. It'll be on Saturday, January 31st at the LA Betsuin. If you'd like to sign up, there's a form, a sign-up sheet downstairs in the office. So please sign up for that if you're interested. The deadline is next Sunday. So for those interested, if you could sign up today, that would be great. And then finally, on a sadder note, the temple will be having conducting a funeral service for Reverend Carol Himaka. It'll be here on the temple on Friday, January 23rd at 11 a.m. The funeral is being co-sponsored by the Buddhist Churches of America and the temple. So the officiant will be Bishop Harada, and there'll be many ministers here. And the Sangha is invited to pay their respects to the late Reverend Himaka. She grew up here in San Diego. She attended Dharma School, the YBA, and a lot of other activities. So if you're interested to come to the service to pay your respects, please do so. That's on Friday, the 23rd at 11 a.m. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, the Dharma School students are now excused to Oshoko and walk to your Dharma School activity that I believe is down in the conference room. Reverend Davenport will now lead us in the chanting of the Vandana and Tisarana, which can be found on page 96 of the service book. Please join us in chanting from the beginning.
Please join from the beginning of the leader line. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kyebutsu. Namo Kyeho. Namo Kyeso. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandavas. Namandavas.
Reverend Sterling Davenport will now share the Dharma message.
Welcome back. I'm glad so many of you guys stayed. Please join me in palms together while I share the words of Shinran Shonin from the Hymns of the Pure Land Masters, number 95. My eyes being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet great compassion, without tiring, illuminates me always. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So I talked about trust a lot in my earlier talk, but specifically talking about animals, they have to trust each other. And how we have to trust each other no matter what, even if our perceived differences make us seem off of a front. But today I want to talk a little bit more about trust and connect it to something that we talk a lot about in Jodo Shinshu, and that's Shinjin. So I think it's a good example of trust. He says, Mom and Dad, you guys never get out and leave me alone. Don't you trust me? Of course, they're all living in the same fishbowl, so they can't really leave. But when we hear the word trust, we usually see it as a partnership. You know, I trust you, you trust me, and together we make things work. Sometimes, most of the times, not all the time. And this makes sense in our everyday life when we interact with others, because trust is usually a transaction when we come to view it. If you hire a contractor, you trust them to build your house the way you described it. In relationships, we trust our partner to be honest, supportive, and present. In these situations, trust seems transactional. There's giving and receiving, effort on both sides. And if someone breaches that trust, it can be lost and devastating. However, what is trust? For most of us, emotionally speaking, trust feels like comfort, at ease, a slow, gentle sense that everything will be okay, even if nothing has been resolved. Furthermore, many of us don't even think about trust when things are good, when things are great, and everything seems to be going our way. It's only when things are rough, difficult, or strenuous that we start to find that trust, think about it, and rely on it. It's during these moments of crisis that we focus on leaning into trust and figuring out where our trust has gone. So trust not only exists in animals, but it does exist in relationships. So I want to share a story. This is a personal Davenport story. When I was first dating my wife, before we got married, we had decided to plan our very first trip together. And if you've ever played or planned a trip with your spouse or your significant other, you have to agree on a lot of things to make it work. And so we decided to go to Nova Scotia, and my mother-in-law came as well. And if you don't know this, I'm a pretty much go with the flow type of person. I'm not much of a planner. I kind of like just to see how things are going. My wife, on the other hand, is a very much planning person. And I don't know how I did it, convinced my wife that we should just wing the whole vacation. We're not going to book hotels. We're not going to plan where we're going. We're just going to land, drive, and end up somewhere. And my goal was to make it less stressful. It's going to be exciting. We're not going to be stuck to being here at a certain time, stuck at this hotel. We're just going to see where the road takes us and where we're going to go. And this was a great idea when I thought about it. And the first day that we landed, it was a really great idea for most of the day. But as we started to sit down for dinner, and I started to go, oh, we need to book our hotel for tonight because we don't have a hotel yet. And it's like 6:30, and I'm sitting there going, okay, well, let me just call around. There's got to be places, you know. This isn't a really popular season for Nova Scotia. And I call a place, and they say, no, we're booked. Appetizers come. Next place, oh, no, we're booked too. Dinner's coming. 2 more places are booked. And I'm starting to really panic because this is A, the first trip I've ever been on. B, I just convinced my soon-to-be wife that this was going to be a great idea. And C, there are no hotels in this place, and the next city is 100 miles away. And so dessert comes, and I'm sitting there sweating, going, oh man, there's got to be some place that's open. And the very last place I called said, you're just in luck. We just had a cancellation. And I was like, oh, sweet. I'm not going to be a failure at this. And so this took a lot of trust because I had to have, in that moment, enough trust to know that everything was going to work okay. And that we had to agree together that everything would work okay. Luckily, it was the best bread and breakfast I've ever had in my entire life. The anxiety probably also made it taste really, really good. But the rest of the trip, I can comfortably say we had a hotel every place we went before we went there. Because I learned really quickly that if you're going to have trust, you got to have a lot of evidence to back that up. So I made sure that the rest of the trip was good. But this is a good example. You know, when life's good and you're having fun, you're sightseeing and you're enjoying things, you don't really have to rely on trust. Everything's well, everything's smooth. But when things start to get uncertain and you begin nervous and you don't have a plan or things are difficult, then you have to start doubting yourself, doubting your trust. And it really puts everything on a shaky ground. And for most of us, even if we have a hotel reservation, even if we have the key in our hand and the room is ready, we still aren't relaxed. That trust does not bring us comfort and joy that we think it should. So how does Buddhism define trust? So trust in Buddhism doesn't work like a hotel reservation, a contract, or a service. And Amida Buddha doesn't give us a receipt when we're doing well or doing poorly. Instead, it doesn't prove itself right away. Because of that, it can cause us more anxiety because we're trusting something and we're not seeing direct results at the end of this transaction. We might think, I'm trying to trust, but I don't see anything happening. I can't see the results of my labor right away. But when we think about it, something truly is happening, ever subtly, something almost unperceivable in the moment. Many people talk about this as the idea of sedimentation, about how fine layers of dust slowly build up over time. And this dust is slowly shaping us, influencing us, changing who we are from moment to moment. You don't notice it daily, but eventually everything becomes covered. Everything is shaped and transformed by this. The teachings of gratitude and compassion that we learn about through the story of Amida gradually transform us and soften our words. They humble us. They shift us from thinking about me and thinking about us and we. And sometimes you end up thinking about just helping others, about genuinely being present with those around us. This doesn't mean life is going to be easy all the time. Trust can be intimidating, especially when you don't see the results. But if we learn to listen, truly listen, and be present, we start to notice how we are being embraced in everyday moments. We see the compassion around us when others do nice things for us, when we see random acts of kindness on the road, just when you're driving, when someone allows you to cut in and get to your destination fast and safe. You know, there's a really famous saying that says, we are born with 2 ears and 1 mouth, which means listening is twice as important as talking. In our Buddhist tradition, listening is probably one of the best acts of practice. Because when we listen to the Dharma, when we hear the sutras, when we see and are influenced by the people we engage with, we open ourselves up to being transformed. Not through force, but through mere presence. In Sanskrit, this trust can most closely be linked to a word called sada, which means to put our heart into something. Thus, we place our heart in Amida's compassion, in the compassion of others, to say yes, not with effort, but with openness, to be willing to be embraced and to embrace others. In Jodo Shinshu specifically, we call this an entrusting heart. Shinran explains that it is the heart and mind without doubt, to be free of self-power, having entrusted oneself to the other power of the primal vow. We don't rely on ourselves to allow this trust to happen in our lives. We rely on the other power of compassion and gratitude to shape us. We also call this Shinjin. And Shinjin isn't something you earn or lose. It's not a reward. It's the settling of our heart. It's the openness that comes with listening to the teachings and allowing them to work on us and through us. Shinran has this quote where he says, "My eyes being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet great compassion without tiring illuminates me always." Oftentimes, just like trust, we don't see it when it's happening. We aren't even aware that it's there because we're blinded by our own passions, our own pleasures, our own happiness. But it is always there, always embracing us, shaping us, whether or not we allow it to be perceivable or not. So, this is trust in Jodo Shinshu, and this is how Buddhism defines trust. So what can Buddhism teach us about trust? When I come back to the question I started with today, I believe we can say these things. Number one, trust is inspiration. The spark that brings you here today is the inspiration that starts a new journey in your life, even if just for this moment. Trust is confidence, the willingness to persist even when the practice feels boring, when we don't see results, we're confused or in pain. Trust is patience, letting things develop naturally without forcing them or making them happen. Trust is also courage, drawing back from our conditioning, letting go of our preconceived notions, and continuing no matter what, to allow ourselves to always speak the truth. And trust is the relaxing, gentle feeling of knowing that everything is okay, even if you don't see everything being okay in the moment. You don't have to force this awareness or trust to happen in your life. all you have to do is be present for what's naturally occurring around you. After all, a watch pot never boils, and sedimentation takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. As Sharon Salzberg writes, and why I include this picture today, trust is like baking a cake. First, you need the right ingredients. Then, you've got to mix them up. And finally, you have to wait for it to rise. The teachings of the Buddha, our Jodo Shinshu tradition, the idea and story of gratitude and compassion that we read about and we see and we experience are those ingredients. We have to integrate them in our lives. We have to be open to receiving them and mixing them up within us. And then we have to let them slowly work on us, not forcing it, but allowing it to sedimentate on us. Trust develops through experience, and experience will repeatedly bring us back to gratitude every day. So when we say Namo Amida Butsu, we're not expressing a belief, a faith. We are saying thank you. We are saying yes. We are releasing that small us that we see in the word trust, that part that makes us feel like it's 100% of the most important part. And we open ourselves up to something bigger. Like the leaf on the tree, shaking but always held, we are being embraced by Amida through the compassion and wisdom and the teachings alone. Please join me in palms together as I reflect on the words of Shinran again. In the hymns of Pure Land Masters number 95. My eyes being hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me. Yet great compassion, without tiring, illuminates me always. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Sensei, for this morning's adult Dharma message on trust. Something that we can have, something that we may lose over time or gain. I do have to ask your wife, though, do you trust him in planning another wing it and go with the flow vacation? Because that would make me nervous for sure. No, of course not. So please stand for the singing of Gatha on Doksan 2 that can be found on page 128 of the service book. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. You may be seated. Please put your hands together for a closing music meditation. The faults of others are easy to see, but the faults of our own are difficult to recognize. If one sees that he has a fault, he may realize that the fault must be very grave indeed for him to recognize it himself. Thus, he may take steps to correct his fault. Because it is difficult for us to see many of our faults, we should listen to the advice of others. Renyo Shonin. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So thank you, Reverend Sterling Davenport, for officiating the Dharma Family Service this morning, for both the wonderful Dharma talks and leading today's service. Thank you to CMA Arturo Rubio for co-officiating this morning, and CMA Yukari Williams for ringing the concho. Thank you to our musician this morning, Mr. Jayson Schmidt, for his beautiful playing on the piano. And thank you to Lorena for setting up our Celebration January birthday gifts. And also to Brevin Honda and Ricky Cheeks, thank you for your technical support so that we may live stream our service. And last but not least, thank you to all of you who have joined us this morning, both in person and online. So at this time, I'd like to invite everyone to come up and offer incense if you have not done so. Thank you for joining us this morning for the Dharma Family Service. I believe Reverend Davenport is remaining in the Hondo to answer any questions after the service. At least that's what I had in my notes. Please also join us downstairs in the dining room for hospitality, and we hope you might join us for the award-winning short documentary film Because of You, I Am, the film about PJ and Roy Hirabayashi, the U.S. Taiko pioneers, and that will be followed by a discussion. So thank you again for joining us this morning.